All right. Welcome once again to Time to Come Alive. This is an opportunity for me, Valerie Hope, to coach you, to inspire you and activate you to get more connected, to get more conscious, even more creative, and ultimately live a life you love. And my pleasure is to introduce you to people who are doing exactly that, or on their journey to doing that, or transforming their life in some significant way so that they have a life that they love. And in a moment, I'll introduce my very special guest to all of you. A couple things, whether you're with us live or if you're going to be watching this, or if you're watching this on recording, I'd like for you to go to your social media and share with other people. Share the video with them. Share that you're on Time to Come Alive and have them join you. Because I'm sure that the conversation today will inspire your own conversations with your friends and families and colleagues about ways in which you can come alive too. So go to social media and just hashtag us at Time to Come Alive. And that way we can also follow and see what you're saying, and we can interact as a big community. Now, part of our session today, like I said, we'll have a very special guest share some thoughts and perspectives with us. But before we get into that, I'd like to take a moment to do a little mindfulness. And the mindfulness exercise is really for us to be more able to hear and process what's happening in a more mindful way, in a more specific way. And after that, we'll start our conversation with our guests, and then I'll give you all an opportunity to chime in with your thoughts, your questions, your insights a little bit later in the program. So for right now, let's start with some mindfulness. I'd love for you, if you're sitting down, to just get comfortable wherever you're sitting. If you're standing, to make sure that your feet are planted firmly. And I want you to just take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. You might find it more comfortable to close your eyes if it's safe for you to do so, or just soften your gaze so that you can better look inward. Just want you to take a moment to do that. All right, take another breath. And as we start to listen and to think today, I want you to focus on a couple of words and the type of energy that those words have in your mind. We'll try them on and see how they feel to you. I want you to think about all the shoulds that you say to yourself, right? The word should. And when we think about, I should get up early, I should eat more vegetables, I should call my mom more often, I shouldn't watch so much TV. There's all sorts of shoulds that we have in our lives about how we live, what we do, who we do things with. Take a moment and try on that word, and I want you to figure out where you feel that word. Right? Where do you feel the energy when you think the word should? Is there some energy in your shoulders? Is it tight? Is it loose? You find the word should. You find in your tummy maybe. Is it clenched? Is it loose? Does it feel heavy or does it feel light to you? Does it inspire brightness or does it bring darkness? Just think about the energy that word brings to you. Take a few moments. Another breath. And then I want you to think of the word choose. Of the word choose. Try that one on. I choose to wake up early. I choose to eat more vegetable. I choose to call my mother. I choose to watch television. Notice what the word choose does to your mind and your body. Does it bring light? Does it bring darkness? Where does the energy, where does it sit? And essentially, what I want you to think about is any word that we use that makes us come alive will be a word where we experience aliveness. Right? Our language does matter. It's Just take another couple deep breaths. We prepare to listen to our conversation today. And then come on back. If you close your eyes, you may open them or refocus your gaze on our conversation. All right. Now we are going to enjoy this wonderful guest that I have here today. I've invited to join us on Time to Come Alive, Adriana Gallegos. Adriana and I have been friends for 12 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's about right. About 12 years or so. And one of the things that I will say, when I first met Adriana, she and I both worked at Hyatt, the hotels here in the Dallas area. And she's been super consistent in the 12 years that I've known her, all different contexts. High energy, super positive, amazing dancer. Taught me the Thriller dance, y'all. I mean, for some
remember that?
I remember that.
I forgot about that.
I don't remember the dance. I remember the experience. Let's just put it that way. Also, an amazing event planner, really mindful and thoughtful about her customers, as well as a mother and a wife. And she finds a way to do it all. And one of the reasons that, Adriana, I wanted you to be on this program today was because I'm fascinated by this notion that you have such a big life and you're doing so many things and you have so much love and so much passion for the things that you do. And yet I've never, in the years that I've known you, heard you talk about your life as if you're a victim of it. That you always seem so empowered and ready to do the next thing and create a village of people around you to support you. So I thought, okay, we need to find out, what is this magic? So welcome.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Like, it wasn't until you said that I was like, I don't know. I guess so. I just never saw it that way. I think, when I was growing up, my aunt gave me this quote and it stuck with me forever. And she always said, you're not a victim of circumstance. You're exactly what you choose to be. And for whatever reason, I don't know who originally quoted that. I don't know if you can find it word for word that way, but it has stayed with me forever. You're not a victim of anything. You're exactly what you choose to be. And just like you said, when you started this out, everything is about choice, right? So you choose to do something. You choose to look at life a certain way or this way or that way. And so I don't know. I feel like that when you said that and I kind of look back, I'm like, how did this? Okay, yeah, I get that. Just how it's always been.
Tell me about that. So what was it? Why did your aunt say that to you? What was it about that particular phrase that stuck?
I just know, I don't remember exactly the particular situation, but I know when I was younger, like middle school, high school days, those are like the roughest times of your life, I think. You're figuring out who you are, you're going through trials and tribulations. And I think that was one of the toughest times in my life. And I love my mom and I would go to her, but you always have that one person next to her that you can really go to. And my aunt was always that person for me. She always, gave me inspirational books, or she always, would give me quotes like that, or just kind of give me that. She's like you. She's very like, inspirational, motivational, just that's how she was when I was younger. And so I don't know, it was just that quote that she gave me. I don't remember the particular situation, just during that time in my life, she was kind of my go-to person. And she would inspire me and motivate me through books and quotes. And I remember having a folder, when you were young, you used to write on folders, and all my positive quotes I'd put on there just to keep you focused on staying positive.
I love that. And thank your aunt. This is nice. Maybe I should meet her. Is she still
good? I got to get you guys together.
Okay. Excellent. So I want you to think back to some of the choices you made now. So obviously you got this wisdom and this inspiration from her about being more mindful about what you choose and not being a victim of their circumstance. So talk us through a choice that you've made that made sure that you were on that path, that you really reflected that particular value.
Oh man. I think one of my biggest moments in life was choosing to move to New York. I always talk about this story. My husband just laughs at me because he's like, oh, here she goes again with her New York story. But it was one of those things where like I made a choice. I wanted to move to New York. It was a dream. It was a goal. It was, everybody that I talked to would say, don't do it. It's dangerous. It's scary. You don't know anybody, this or that. And I made the choice and I stuck to it and I didn't change my mind. I was kind of like, that's what I want to do and I'm going to do it. And it was by far one of the best moments in my life. And it, again, just goes back to, I think when it's supposed to happen, it works out, the doors open, you make a choice and you stick to it and you learn through it. And for me, everything about that experience was life-changing for me. I felt like I met the right people. Luckily, I had a job that I moved there for, and they embraced me as a family. You know, I have my New York mama, Melanie, you know, and you know, the girls there that took me under their wing that didn't have to. And yeah, a lot of awful things could have happened, but I didn't focus on all things happening. I focused on I always call it my happy bubble. I like being in my happy bubble, and I don't like anybody bursting my happy bubble. And that's just how I always have been. Just, I stay in my happy place.
And what made you decide to find a happy place to stay in?
I don't know. I think that's just how I've always been since I was born. My mom tells stories about how I always just used to say hi to people when I was young. Hi, and I'd make friends with anybody. So I think it's just part of my personality. And I think when you get down in the dumps, then you do have it, because it happens, right? You do get down in the dumps and you have bad moments. It's okay to stay in that moment for a minute, but then you got to pick yourself off, dust off the dirt, and keep moving. And it's a choice. Everything is a choice, right? We all have choices. And so I think it's moment by moment that you decide how you want to handle something or how you want to move forward or stay in the rut that you're in. It's a choice. You can stay and you can be a victim of your situation. You can woe is me all day long, or you can choose to, you know, wipe off the dust and get back on and keep going and learn from it.
I totally get that. I'm curious about the circle of people that surround you, though. You know, I think people, or maybe who in your circle is the better question. Who in your circle also reflects that mentality?
You definitely. I have quite a bit. I have a great group right now that I'm surrounded with now. I'm doing the whole Hey Chica thing with Veronica and, you know, the girls, Margie and Susie and them. And
what is Hey Chica?
So Hey Chica is a movement that Veronica started about really changing the conversation. This is what I love so much about this organization. Instead of us as women, you know, talking and gossiping and kind of saying, oh, she thinks she's better than everybody because she's climbing the ladder, or she's doing this or doing that. It's about, hey, how can we support each other? How can we encourage each other to be better, do better? How can we introduce somebody to somebody else who can help them grow and be in a different, you know, achieve their goals and their dreams? And I just feel like I'm super blessed right now to be in a circle of women who that's what they do, and they're legit doing it. Everybody's supporting each other, and it's not just talk, it's not show, it's not just to say or do something. It's really, hey, let's all get together and let's figure out how we can make change in the world for us as Latinas and then as women, you know, or both, not then one or the other, but and that's what it is. So it's so great to have a circle of women right now in my life that are 100% positive, go-getters, let's do it, let's figure it out, and let's support and motivate one another. It just makes a huge difference in everything in life, I think, right now.
Have you had other experiences working with other groups of women that are maybe up to something just like you are, but yet don't have that level of support and that focus on helping each other achieve goals? What's that been like?
Have I had experience working with somebody who's not?
Yeah, people, organizations or individuals.
Yeah, so there's been situations with different organizations where, it just isn't so supportive, or maybe it's friends or families who, not family, but friends in a certain part of your life that are kind of not as supportive or not as encouraging or motivating. And it's kind of sad because you want to, you want everybody to be on the same page and everybody to grow and develop together. But when it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
I get that. And what makes you that type of woman? Because obviously I'm a strong believer that we are who we attract. Mm-hmm. People that we attract are because they're a reflection of who we are and how we show up. I'm curious, what's made you the type of woman that wants to support and encourage? Because I know that's how I've related to you. That's my experience of you. What makes you do that?
I think, having grown up, so I think that there were people who believed in me along the way, right? And so I want to turn around and give back, because had those people have not believed in me, like I'll give you an example. Lisa Welch, she was my HR, Lisa from Hyatt, and she gave me an opportunity that I didn't believe I could even, like in my head, possibly believe I could achieve, right? So I went in to apply for a waitressing job. Even though I knew my dream and my passion was to plan events, I went in to apply for a waitressing job. And as Lisa got to know me and interview me and talk to me, she said, you know what? I think I have another opportunity for you. And I thought, really? Okay. And she said, what do you think about a private dining coordinator in Reunion Tower? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I would love that. But what the heck am I getting into? I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm qualified. I don't know. But she believed in me and she gave me the opportunity, and I interviewed and I got the position. And it was like that one opportunity where somebody truly believed in you and kind of breathed and kind of gave you that fresh breath of air that said, go in this direction and go do that. And that for me was a moment in life where it was like somebody believed in me and somebody gave me an opportunity. And there's been moments like that sporadically throughout my career where somebody believed in me, like you. When I got into the training role, you trained me how to be a speaker and how to speak in front of people. I'll never forget that day when I'm like, okay, now I'm a training manager in HR over 3 properties. What the heck am I supposed to do now? And you're like, it's okay, we're going to do this. And you got me up in front of the class and you said, start talking. And I'm like, I don't know. Remember that?
Obviously, it wasn't as traumatic for me.
But you made me do it. You made me practice, and eventually I got super comfortable speaking in front of people. I learned how to connect with people in front of a classroom, and it was a skill you taught me, but you believed in me. You gave me an opportunity. You coached me, and I'm totally coachable and ready to learn, a sponge, but somebody gave me that opportunity. And so back to your question, along the way, somebody has grabbed my hand or gave me an opportunity or believed in me. And so that's when why I want to turn around and do the same thing for other, more passionately for young Latinas, because I feel like, there's a certain generation that we're raised around, hey, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? And that's the goal. Now it's add high school and add college to it, which is good. The expectations are higher, but at a certain point it was just, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? But that's not what I want to do. There's more in life that you can achieve than just those things. There's more that encompasses all of that. And so to be able to go back and teach other Latinas at a young, my aunt, when she inspired me when I'm 12 and 15, I want to do that for other young kids, other young ladies, and help give back. So I feel like I'm just now hitting important in my career. We can now say I have the experience and the passion, and now I can turn around and go help, and give back.
I totally get that. I'm curious about what it is about the culture you described, right? Because I think women still, for the most part, although we've come, it's been, we're miles from where maybe our parents or grandparents used to come from, right? The pressure or the expectation that they came from. I think we've moved light years from that, but there's still a lot of things that we struggle with when it comes to balancing, especially career, education, relationships, marriage, motherhood. What have you found has been the answer to making all of those things count? Because you obviously you have a fulfilling career, you have a beautiful family. I'm curious, how
the last part of that question I went out.
How have you made it all work?
I think it's just, one, I'm passionate about what I do. And so I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to on this. I plan events. It's in my veins. It's in my blood. It's in everything I do, everything I speak. It just is what it is. That's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about, and it's what I do well. I think I tell you a lot of times I'm a people pleaser, which is why I think I'm good at that, because I love to throw a big event and make sure everybody's happy. I live to see a room full of people laughing and joking and having a good time because of something that we've done perfectly. And I think that plays through in everything I do in life. And I don't know if my family hates it, but I love throwing events for my family. I love, trying to bring a part of my profession and my career home and share that with my family. I think that has been important because that truly is what makes me happy. So all the way around, I'm happy in that sense. I think the other part of that is that my husband is a huge support and always has been of anything that I've wanted to do in my career. And having that support and that backing just gives you the foundation and the opportunity for me to just do whatever I want to do. He's always, whatever you want, we'll do it. We'll figure it out. Go do it. I got you. He's like, I'm the foundation. I got it. You go do what you need to do. He's always there for me. And I think that's been helpful. And that was good when it was just me and him. And now we have a little 2-year-old. And things kind of, over the past 2 years, it's shifted. And it's been a little harder because before it's like, oh, I could do all these things. And now it's like, okay, now we got to sit down and figure out who's going to watch the little one and who's going to, when do we have coverage and, what can or cannot I not go to. And so I don't know. I think just being passionate about what I'm doing, and that kind of plays a role across the board in how to manage it all. I don't know if that's the right answer or not, but it's kind of.
I love that answer. I asked my mother a very similar question just a few weeks ago, because she, like you, has always, at least in my mind, just done it all. And, you know, she had 4 of us. She had some careers as we moved around the country and the world because of my father's job. And she always found a way to make life really interesting. And I asked her, I'm like, so Mom, how is it that you're able to do all those things? And I never heard her complain about, I never have time for myself, and I can't believe I have this other school thing. Never. And one of the things she said was, it's so funny that you say exactly the same thing. She's like, I was passionate about everything I did. Everything I chose to do, I loved. And I think that sounds like the key. And what I also hear you say is how you've taken your love, right? Your passion for creating these moments and events for people, and you actually use it to serve your family. Mm-hmm. One of the keys too that I'm hearing is having first embrace your own gift and your talent, the things that really are interesting for you, but then more than anything, taking that and not only offering it to your career, not only offering it to a certain aspect of your community, but you literally live that passion in all these different areas of your life. So talk to us more about what that looks like and what it takes to live that way.
It's busy. I mean, you say, I don't know. I'm passionate. I'm happy about it. And so I think you said it a second ago. You said choice again. You brought up the word choice, and it's all about choice. So you have a choice on what events I have a choice on what events I can attend, how, where I want to go, how I want to go. I think choice is the biggest part, right? So you have, I don't know. It's just how I am passionate about, everything that I'm doing, and I'm happy to do it. And if there's something that I'm not happy to do, that's the other thing. I think I'm going through that process of learning that right now, is that I can only have room in my life for the things that are going to make me happy. Right. And so that goes back to choice again. If I'm going to make the choice to do X or Y, are these things going to make me happy and my husband and my son happy? Like, I have to think about those things too. Like, how does that play in? If I'm going to an event, and I get to invite a guest, a lot of times now I think first, would Brian want to come to this? Like, can I bring him to this? Is this something he can enjoy, so that I can?
That's your husband, by the way, in case people don't know, like, who was Brian? Brian's her husband.
But I think a lot of times, like, can I involve him and can I incorporate him in what I'm doing? Because a lot of times you can go out and network and do events and do this or do that. And you get caught up in living your own life. But I don't want to live my own life. I want Brian to be a part of this. I want Gavin to be a part of this, my husband and my son. I want them to be in any way that they can. And so I think that's what makes me happy. Those choices that I've made in life, I'm happy with those choices, and I want to keep them all together in one big happy circle.
I find it fascinating because you obviously choose powerfully what you do and how you do it, but you also said that you're a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. I imagine that, what about other people's choices about what you should do and how you should do it? How do you balance between those two?
It's hard. I think personally, I do take those things personal when somebody has an opinion. And so I'm working on figuring that out. I've done a lot more meditation and positive affirmation and things like that. But, and my husband, again, I go back to him. He's always like the sounding board. He's like, you can't listen to what other people say. You can't listen to other people's opinions. As long as I know it's in the right scope, it's in the right, it falls into our values and what we want, and it works for our family, then that's when I know that it's the right decision. And that's when I know that, I don't know, that it's in line with what's right and I can't focus on what other people think or what other people's opinions are. Right. I think that's a phase that I'm going through right now, where I'm learning that, because previously I'm such a people pleaser. I will go through anything to make sure everybody loves me and is happy with everything that I'm doing. And, their opinion of me is positive, but there have been a few people along the way who haven't so much liked me. I don't know why.
How dare they?
So I'm learning. It's a learning. That's a phase that I'm going through in life right now. So I'm going to learn from it and keep moving on. I think that's with anything in life, though. You learn where your flaws are. You learn where I love being a people pleaser, but I can see on the flip side how it has affected me. I've got to move from a negative place to a positive place. It's just always.
I know that you're super coachable. I know we've had many a coaching conversation. I want to offer something to you because I feel like the words I am create an energy about who we are being at any given moment. And when you say I am a people pleaser, it's almost like a label or a sentence for you to be that, right? In a lot of areas of life. I wonder if you might consider using things like, I choose to please others.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That changes it. Yeah.
It does change the energy of it, right? The intention behind it is I choose to please this person, or I choose to please this organization, or I choose to please my husband, or I choose to please my family in this moment, as opposed to I am a pleaser.
Yes. I love that. And that's so true. Again, it goes back to I choose. I love that. Yeah. Because now I'm going to choose who I choose to please. And if it's a client, if it's my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, like whoever, I'm going to choose my husband. I choose to do whatever it takes to make that person happy, or, whatever the case may be. So yeah, no, I love that. I'm going
to talk to us a little bit about how you build this choosing into your relationship. I think that's the other piece I've learned often, that once you're married, obviously the two of you, and I was at the wedding, I've seen pictures, I know that you guys have a full exciting baller life sometimes.
Oh yeah, right. No.
But it's really exciting, and I'm curious about how you choose to maintain that type of energy and that commitment. And now, especially growing your family, and you have a lot of extended family around you, how do you devote time to your relationship?
It's been harder lately, now that we have a little one, because now it's like two ships sailing in the wind, where it's like, hey, you got this. Okay, great. You got this. And we're like, hi, bye. I've always, again, like you said, I'm coachable. So I've always listened to advice before I ever got married. I always asked, how did you know that was the one? How did you know? I always wanted to know before I made this big decision in my life on who I was going to marry. And Brian, the same way. He waited a long time to decide, who he was going to marry. And, I think just having the foundation and the commitment to, regardless of what's going on in our life, we have to remember it's always us. We always say, it's always me and you. We're on the same team. We're never against each other. We're not on different teams. So when things get hard, or things get, when we're moving and grooving really fast, I'm traveling, or, he's a fireman. So he works 24 hours a day. He's gone for 24 hours at some point. And so it's hard, I'm here alone taking care of Gavin. And so it can be hard, but we both acknowledge the challenges in both of our worlds. And we know we're on the same team. And so we always have come to Jesus meetings, and we have conversations, and we try to just understand each other's perspective. We try to do date nights. But we set a goal to at least do one once a night. And so that's why I go back to once a month.
I was like, ooh, that's ambitious. We don't know all the details.
I wish. No. Once a month is our goal. But time flies by, and sometimes that doesn't even happen. And so that's why it's nice. Like sometimes when I get invited to events for work and they're fun things, like when I got to take Brian to the stadium for a Cowboy game and he got to meet Michael Irvin, that was so fun. But
say that again.
He got to meet Michael Irvin. He signed his jersey and kissed. Oh, I have to show you that video. But it was a good night, and that for us was a date night. So technically it was working, but I got to bring him along. We got to have some fun, and so any chance that we can find an opportunity to get away and have some fun, we try to keep us in our. When we first met, when we were young, and all those things. So we try to keep that going.
Keep it popping.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think that what you just shared is an example of how you bring your passion, right, and your life. You blend. It sounds like you blend your life really effectively. That there's not a lot of compartments, like keeping things separate. So date night can be a work event, but at the same time, spending quality time with your husband. Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal. What advice do you give other young mothers or other women that are maybe struggling with finding balance and finding the kind of joy that you have?
The first advice that I think is so important, and again, I'm learning this myself, is talk to people about what you're going through or what your struggles. Find a group of people that you can be real with and you can have authentic conversations with, and talk about how hard it is, because it's not easy. And I think a lot of times we try to put on this, oh, everything's perfect lifestyle, and it's not easy and it's not perfect. And when you start talking to people and you realize that everybody else is going through the same thing, we just hide in our little circle and feel like we're on an island, but it's only because we're not talking to each other. The minute you can start sharing real world life challenges with each other, it makes it easier to get through it together. You realize you're not alone, and you get advice from people. And I think getting advice from, depending on what your religion is or what your background is, but I feel like personally getting spiritual guided advice is also helpful as well, because then you don't get sucked into negative or the wrong feedback to handle different situations. You get feedback from a spiritual or conscious, mindful, a place with your group of friends that you feel safe and authentic with. I think that is so important.
Can you share an example of an area where you've had to seek some advice or seek some guidance?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've gone just recently, I shared with you, I reached out to you because I went through some tough, it's actually been two different scenarios with two different people in my life who have been just challenging to get along with. And, it was hard. And so emotionally it brought me down, and it brought me to an ugly place where I'm used to being happy and in a good place. And so if I would have just stayed in my circle and let the voices in my head talk and just had that negative feeling all to myself, then I wouldn't have gotten the great advice that I got to how to handle it or how to move on or how to, and so I think, again, it just goes back to talking to somebody and opening up. And I called my cousin, I got different people's advice and opinion on how do I handle it? Am I wrong? And it's almost like your personal board of directors, right? You have a personal board of directors of people that you can reach out to for different reasons, whether it be personal or whether it be business advice. You have a personal board of directors, and when you know that you can go to them, you can pick up the phone and I need to talk, life is crazy, and they'll listen like that. It just makes a huge difference. It's helpful. And
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And yeah, I talk a lot about personal board of directors, and we get to curate the people in our life. And I think you said something that's also really important, and especially with women, we want to support other women generally, right? Generally speaking. And it sounds like the kind of support that you were seeking, you mentioned more conscious, mindful support. That doesn't necessarily mean they agree with you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're enrolled in your, the chaos.
Yes.
But I can also see how there might be relationships where women provide the kind of support like, oh yeah, girl, don't leave him, or you're so right, and I can't believe she did that to you, right? Yeah. That we begin to feed into the chaos or the drama or the keeping the status quo. How do you discern, Adriana? How do you discern between which group of people or what type of advice you would be getting from each group?
I think it goes back to that feeling of positive or negative, and you can tell when you start to get the feedback back, and you'll know when you do reach out to somebody. And they come back with the positive spiritual responses, or they come back with the gossipy, oh yeah, girl, da-da-da-da-da. That's when you're like, oh, you can feel, I think you feel the negative energy, or you feel the positive energy, or the peaceful energy from when somebody's speaking, or the unbiased energy, when they come back and they are truly looking at it from an unbiased perspective, which I feel like you do a lot when we talk. You don't ever take my side, and you don't say, Adriana, you're right, and this is how have you thought about it from this perspective? Have you looked at it from this perspective, or this lens or that lens? And I think that is, it just speaks volumes for the person that you will now turn, and you'll get it. Like if you take a situation to somebody and you like the response that you're getting back from them, and you realize, if that's where your heart is and that's what you want, that's what you'll, like you said, what did you say? You are who you attract, right? So if that's the place that I'm at in my life right now, which I am, I'm learning how to be more mindful and spiritual, then now I'm starting to attract those people that'll give me those responses. And then it's so crazy how that works, because if you would have looked at me in like my high school and teenage days, that was a different person there. And so the different people that I'm attracting then would have been the gossipy, oh girl, da-da-da-da-da, those kind of people. And so now I'm just in a different place in my life where I think you just naturally gravitate or attract those people because you're learning and you're mindful about that.
I love that. Yes. In Spanish, we have a saying, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. You know, tell me who you're with, and I'll tell you who you are. You take a look at who surrounds you and the kind of people that you spend time with, that you invest your time in. I'm going to open up the conversation to others that are listening right now. So y'all start thinking of questions that you might have for Adriana or comments about what you've heard so far in our conversation. Just a moment. I want to ask you this one question. You did talk about how when you have these conversations with different people, you get perspective, there's a feeling that comes over you. And I'd love to just tease that out, because I think that's a really, really smart way to judge whether or not the advice that you're getting is going to really speak life. Is going to bring life, or is it going to bring death, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us about that feeling. What do you notice about those messages that are more positive or uplifting? What do you feel?
I'll give the example of when I called you that day and I was having a rough week, and your response to me immediately, well, your voice immediately calmed me down, because I was just, and the more that I talked about it, the bigger and the louder and the angrier and the more frustrated I got. But you were very calm and very mellow-toned about it. You know, you didn't get high energy with me or gossipy with me. You were and that brought peace to me. It brought me like, okay, come back down. Everything's going to be okay. Let's talk about this from this perspective, from this angle. And that, I think you just feel it. Or you can get on the phone with somebody and say, can you believe this girl did this? And they're, oh yeah, girl did it. And you just start, the gossipy gets bigger, and that energy, that negative energy gets bigger. And you're like, nah, that if that's not where you want to be, then that's not you just can tell the two different conversations are different. While I appreciate both, I always love everybody's perspective. But you know, and you could take a little nugget from there and a little nugget from this and do what you want. But there's definitely, you can tell if you just listen for a second and feel it and understand it and absorb it, you can just feel that positive or that negative energy that comes.
I think the key word in there is that peace. Mm-hmm. Whatever brings us peace. And peace doesn't necessarily always look like a lack of conflict, but it is a place of groundedness. Mm-hmm. Feel more centered. You feel like, okay, now I can really think straight. And I believe in our conversation, a part of it was, we think about how our brain works, and if that part, the limbic system, really goes crazy, the amygdala goes into fight, flight, or freeze, we are not able to really engage the part of our brain that is much more logical and rational. And so part of it is just calming down that part of the brain that is there to protect us, is there to really keep us safe. And yet, when we want to really move forward and make those more mindful choices, it becomes really difficult to do it if we're doing it from that place. So I think what you're speaking to is really connecting with the community of people that will help you kind of ground yourself so that you do feel safe. You know, I think here is also that you have people that are safety for you.
Yes.
And so your brain doesn't have to fight, flight, or freeze. Like, let me find other people who I feel safe with. And that helps bring down all of that energy. So then you can think more clearly and be more creative in how you connect and move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about this all day.
I love it.
And I want others who are listening to share. Please unmute yourself or hit *6 if you're on the telephone, or raise your hand, whatever you want. So I really do want to engage other people in this conversation. And y'all know I'm not afraid to call on people. So I will do that. But I'd love to hear, what are you hearing? How are you dealing with finding balance, or how are you able to choose how you spend your time and energy? Let's hear from a couple of you. Let's go with Catherine is one of our regular participants. Catherine, if you're available to share what's opened up for you in this conversation, we appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for sharing. Definitely a lot spoke to me. I think that I love that we only have room in our lives for the things that are going to make us happy, because I too was once a yes girl, right? So it was always overextending myself, and then afraid or fear of what are people going to think of me, and of course I want to be a servant, and basically putting myself last. And so I had to come to the decision that it's not necessarily being selfish, it's loving yourself, right? And so until you provide self-love, you can't really be whole to anyone else. And I think once I switched my way of thinking, and it wasn't that I was trying to be negative, but just learning balance, right? And I think that I was fulfilled in all other aspects of my life, but from a relationship perspective is where it really hit me the hardest. So I have learned also that you are who you attract. I've heard it worded different ways. Show me your closest 5 friends, and I'll show you who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think once I started realizing that if I surround myself with people who also want to raise each other up, like you said, not gossip, not talk about one another, but help one another and learn and raise each other up to do positive things. And so I have a really good circle as well. And I've been blessed to be put in contact with people like Valerie and Johanna and other people in my life that are very positive.
It makes such a huge difference when you're surrounded by a circle of women who support you, and everybody else is good too. But when you get that support from women, it totally, I think, just changes your mindset and the light that shines down in your life.
Why do you think,
yes.
Adriana?
What was that?
Why do you think that is, specifically women help do that for you?
I think because we're powerful. The things we can do together and the things that we can accomplish when we work together is amazing, and I've seen it. I think that's just why I know now, because I see it. I understand. I've seen it from the Hey Chica group of girls and from the Association for Women in Events group of girls that I've been surrounded with in the last year or so. Like, it's women supporting women to get where they want to be in life. And when you put us all together, powerful things happen.
Mm-hmm. You're here. Catherine, anything else that's opened up for you, or any questions?
No, I think that it was, as usual, very inspirational, and definitely you are who you attract is something that spoke to me in my healing, again, specifically in relationships, because in the past I used to feel like, gosh, I keep meeting the same guy over and over with a different name. Right. But I had to look within myself and say, okay, I had to own my own healing that needed to be done. And once I did those things and quit beating myself up per se, then it led to different types of relationships. So I think that's so true. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do, right? To quit looking out the window and pick up a mirror.
Quit looking out the window and pick up a mirror. I love it. And you know what, Catherine, I would add to that, one of the things that I think we underestimate is that energy that we put out, right? It's kind of like a satellite signal. Although now these days, who knows how all the things get but if we're not tuned in, right? If we're not tuned into ourselves, when we are not aware of the areas that we need to heal, we're not aware of the areas that we need to grow and expand, or we need to move to the next level, it's likely that we're not going to pick up all the channels that we can pick up, right? We're not going to really have the kind of surrounding and the support and I'm kind of limited on my analogy. I'm not that technically inclined, but I do feel that what you said about picking up a mirror allows us to first work on ourselves. And I think in relationships, I've had the same experience where I realized that the reason I was attracting the kind of men I was attracting was because of who I was being, right? Who I was being and showing up that way. There were some self-limiting beliefs that led me to be the way that I was being. And it's been interesting how I've started to shift that mind. And I think I've shared with some of you guys the idea of love that I had when I was 7 years old was that I was going to marry my best friend and that we were just going to be, you know, inseparable and have all these great conversations. So any man that became my best friend was a target. You might be the one, whether he wanted to or not. I'm like, that's how it's going to work. And the challenge was that, you know, a 7-year-old, outsourcing my love life to a 7-year-old was not a successful strategy. Imagine that. So when I looked inward and I saw, oh, that's why the 7-year-old, you know, usually some message from our childhood usually gets programmed and it becomes to run this, you know, starts running the system. And so I think what you're talking about is we have to take a moment to really look within and see, well, what is that programming? And is it serving me? And if it's not serving us, then we either, you know, uninstall, put in something else, and start, you know, reaching out to the people around us. And we literally will attract, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have attracted a man who is a best friend, but also is loved and is attracted to me in a way that you know, a 46-year-old would need. I just told y'all my age, and I'm proud about that.
Own it.
Own it.
Own it. So, in any case, thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing your thoughts. It's been very, very powerful. Pick up, you know, stop looking at the window. Pick up a mirror, people.
I think the other thing that too is, you know, self-care and self-love. And so the other thing that I think is important is when you realize that the stress in your life is getting high or the things are starting to pile up on top of you, whatever it is that makes you happy, to step away and do those things, regardless of what else is going on in your life. If dancing, which used to be my thing, was dancing. I don't do it as much anymore. I wish I did. But now it's more spa and relaxation days that are important to me. And so I will take a day and say, you know what, I'm disconnecting from everything and I'm going to go, you know, get a massage and a facial. And I don't want to hear noise. I don't want to hear a ding of the phone. I don't want anything. Just give me 24 hours by myself, or give me, you know, whatever it is, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But having that self-care time is so important to like your healing and making sure that you can continue to go on and do all the things that we're supposed to do. But being in tune with your body and knowing when that stress level is going up, and then doing whatever it takes to bring it back down and try to keep it on that level, I think is key as well.
What made you, glad that you brought that up about self-care, because I think that's an area that, you know, all of us could do a little better on, right? Whether that self-care, like you said, is a spa day, or whether it's dancing, or whether it's a date night, or fitness, or whatever. What made you choose that what made you decide self-care was a way to manage your life?
I think I just read a lot about how people say it, you know, it's important, like they say with relationships, it's important for you to have date nights. It's important for you to still stay grounded in what makes you happy. And when, again, you're in tune with how you feel, and that, like when I go have a spa day and I come back home, I'm a happier person. I'm relaxed. I'm ready to, and it goes back to like what you said earlier, when you can calm down in a conversation and see it from a relaxed point of view, or this point of view, then you can make better decisions. The same thing when life gets crazy and you start piling up with the stress and all the things that are going on, and social media and phones and TV and responsibility, all these things pack on, you can feel the stress for me at least, I can feel the stress in my body pick up, and I think, okay, I got to go get back to my happy place. And I've even added on meditating in the morning, and, you know, getting up early in the morning and stretching, because just stretching, you can feel it release in your body, like, oh, all that stress is getting out of me. You have to be in tune, because it goes back to like what Catherine was saying. Like, if you're not happy with yourself, nobody else is going to be happy with you. Your clients, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your husband, your kids, nobody's going to be happy if you're not happy with yourself. And so you have to take care. Oh, you know, it's also that, you know, when you get on the airplane and they always say, you know, the mask drop down, put it on yourself first and then put it on your kid. At first I was like, but my kids first. Well, you can't take care of your kid if you're not okay, right? So you got to put the mask on yourself first, and then you can take care of everybody else around you. And at one point in my life, I think I felt like it sounded selfish, but sometimes you got to be selfish, right? You got to take care of you before you can take care of everybody else.
What changed when you thought it was selfish to now? What shifted?
I think just becoming a big girl and putting your foot down and saying, I got to take care of this for me. I got to stop doing for everybody else first. I have to do it for me first, and then I can do everybody else, because it doesn't work the other way. If you try to do it the other way, you're not happy, and then nobody's happy, right? If mama's not happy, nobody's happy. I think just that, you know, when you get to that point and you realize this isn't working, right? What do they say? Like, if that's working for you, then keep doing it. But if it's not working, then you got to change something. And so if it's not working, you got to change it.
What about the rest of your family? How does this all play out with your parents, your sisters, your brothers, you know, all of that?
I don't know their opinion about it, but I have a village, and I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have my village, if I didn't have my husband, my amazing mother-in-law, my mother, my aunts, my cousins, you know, everybody steps in, and my grandma, like they'll come up. I mean, ever since we've had Gavin, like at the drop of a hat, when we need help, they come over and help. And I believe that they, you know, are supportive of my dreams and goals. And me and Brian having date night, they're supportive of that. They'll come over and y'all go on date night. We'll watch Sleep at Gavin. You know, like if you don't have your village of support, then it's harder. I think they're all okay with it. I think they understand, but I hope so.
I think y'all live relatively close, right? Sharon, tell us what part of the country you're in, just so that people have context.
Yeah, so we're here in Dallas, Texas. And all of my family is within at least a 45-minute to an hour drive max. So we are both very blessed. My mother-in-law lives right down the street. My mom is not far, and everybody comes over, and we're just super blessed to have everybody here next to us. So
it makes a difference in having a village that actually feels like a village. So,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And I'd love to encourage anyone that has a comment or question to go ahead and unmute, or you can type it in the chat. We'll be happy to interact with you guys. I'd love to hear a male perspective. Okay. I'm not going to call on anyone, although I know I saw an eye roll. But if there's a male that would like to share what's opening up for them, I would love that. No pressure. I only see Irving or Brian. So Irving or Brian, would you like to share what's been opening up?
I think I will do it.
Ah, look at you, Irving. Woo!
How are you? It's a little bit dark because, you know, the day here in Dallas is not so, it's strange. The weather conditions are strange. That's why it's a little bit dark. Yeah, I just have a comment to share. I know I'm a strong believer that we surround ourselves with people that we want to be attached with. I mean, we want to be close to the people we like and the socialites like us. But we also need to think sometimes in what can we contribute to the people. I mean, sometimes I have a friend and I say, oh my God, this person is amazing. I really want to be his friend, her friend, whatever. But sometimes we need to also add something into the relationship. Why I'm good? What I can contribute into a relationship? What are the strengths or the skills or something I can have I can provide to any kind of relation? So it's a win-win situation, even in the personal relationships and also in the business relationships. We also need to think what we can do, what can we offer to someone else.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing you say, Irving, is not about who we need necessarily always, about attracting.
What can we offer as well?
Yes. What can we offer others? Lovely. Yeah. Diana, what would you say to that?
Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. And I think that's one of the things with like Veronica and the girls that I'm working with on the Hey Chica stuff. A lot of when I first got together with them, Veronica would turn around and say, so how can I help you? And it's like, how can you? I don't know. Like what, you know, so when you offer your help or you go back, you're like, wow, somebody's really offering to help back in return. So not only can I do all these things for you, but how can you help me? Okay. Well, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that before, you know? So I think it's definitely a two-way street, and it goes back to it's, you know, how can we do for each other? What do they say? Like treat others how you would want to be treated. Right. And so I think it's definitely a two-way street, and giving back to one another, and how can we help? Because you're not filling into that emotional bank account. You've got to keep each other's emotional bank accounts full. And that applies to my husband and I's relationship. I'll go to him and say, hey, my emotional bank account is a little low. I need you to water the plant a little bit, you know?
Tell us about, yes. I remember you sharing that. You wanted an idea about the plant. Tell us a little bit more about the emotional bank account and how that plays in.
Yeah, I think it just like what you were saying, Irving, was it's a two-way street. And so you can't constantly withdraw from that emotional bank account. You can't constantly, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, without turning around and giving back and helping to whatever that is that person needs. You've got to deposit into that emotional bank account for them as well. So both of your accounts are equally able to produce, you know? And so whatever that is for somebody, whether it's helping them, you know, get jobs or get connections, or just lending an ear, or coming over when they need you, or whatever the case may be, or just listening when they call, or sending a reply text message, or whatever it is, but depositing into that emotional bank account. You've got to keep that full so that everybody's happy.
So true. That's Stephen Covey, I remember, talked a lot about that, the emotional bank account. And the idea is that when we have to make significant deposits in other people's lives, right? So when we know the person well enough, like you said, if somebody comes up and asks, how can I help you? And for you, that's like, it seems like that was a really big deposit to make.
Yes.
Someone did something that had a significant impact on you. Now, there are people who might make a deposit, but that doesn't necessarily occur to you as a deposit. It doesn't necessarily feel like a deposit. It feels more like, well, yeah, I appreciate that, but now you're giving me more work to do. But yes, that's something that's important, I think, for us to see how we contribute to others. I had a guest a couple of weeks ago, Felipe Ferreira from Rio de Janeiro, and one of the things he talked about a lot was serving others, and just the things that we can do to support other people. Sometimes just being very nice is enough. Mm-hmm. Feeling that we have an obligation, not an obligation, but we have a choice to contribute to other people's lives. Thank you, Irving, for bringing that perspective.
Yeah, that's great.
We have time for one more question or one more comment before we wrap up. Anyone else like to say something or ask a question? All right. That's okay. You'll definitely interact with us when this goes up on YouTube. Feel free to make your comments there as well. Subscribe to the channel, the Connected Joy channel. But Adriana, back to you just to wrap up. What's the next frontier for you? What area are you looking to continue to expand and grow yourself to continue to feed that passion?
There's quite a few things that we have in the works this year, so I don't know. Like I said, I have a plan, but I don't know what God's plan is for it. I'll continue to do the Hey Chica stuff, the Association for Women in Events. Those are two big organizations that I'm passionate about and excited to be a part of. I've also met a couple of gals, doing women Bible study groups that we're doing and starting to get involved in, so I can get back grounded to my my calling and what I'm supposed to do, being a virtuous woman and making sure that I'm doing all the things, but from the right perspective. And so there's a lot of things in the works this year that I hope will come to fruition. So we'll see. And I don't know.
And how can I help you?
You already helped me a ton. You help me every time I call you. I'm like, Valerie. What I love is that we have our mastermind meetings that we do. And I think that, again, goes back to your personal board of directors or your, whatever you want to call it. It's just having a solid niche of people that you can reach out to. And so that's how you help me. I just love being able to have grounded feedback from you. And, you always give me a different perspective or a different lens to look at things from. And I'm just so grateful for you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm grateful to you too. I also consider you a member of my board of directors, #1 supporter. I actually have a talk coming up later today that I know that you're going to be attending. And maybe taking some pictures, please.
Yes. I'll send you a post for you.
I love it. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much, Adriana, for taking this time in the morning to share with us some of your own passion, some of the things that you've done to grow yourself. And I hope, again, like I said, my job here, I feel like my purpose is to help inspire and activate people to come alive. And there might be areas where you're not, and that's okay. Part of it, the journey of living, is to figure out where we're not so that we can bring some light to it. Right? Like Catherine said, pick up that mirror and take a look and see where we need to be. And like Irving, being able to contribute to other people sometimes is a way of coming to life as well. And it multiplies, right? Because, you know, my favorite quote, and I love to just end on this note, is from Howard Thurman. He says, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs are more people who have come alive. So our responsibility is to put on that mask, come to life, so that we can also do the same for the community that surrounds us. So with that, I just want to thank you so much, Adriana, for joining us. And for the rest of you who took time to be with us live today, thank you. Again, feel free to share this once it's up online with your community and see what conversations come to life on yours. All right.
Thank you,
Have a
Valerie.
wonderful day, everyone.
Bye.